Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I am Kirk Henderson, editor-in-chief at MavsMoneyball.com, and I am joined by fellow site runner Josh Bowe. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
You know, man, it's been a weird day. I really can't contextualize how strange my day has been on a personal level. And so to get this game, this kind of performance, the Mavericks won 102-94. I think that's right. Yeah,
Yes.
104-92.
Yeah.
And really did so in a way to where they dominated this game. And I feel fucking fantastic.
I was about to say, you wrote the recap, and I do, I always kind of feel bad when you write the recap because we always have so much going on. And, writing the recap and trying to do a podcast and all that stuff can be pretty stressful. But you like doing it, and I do like reading your recaps. And I also like reading your recaps, or I like when you do recaps because I like talking to you. Like we usually record, like you publish, and then it's time to go.
Yep.
So I'm curious, with that fresh off of your brain, like what stood out to you most about this game to you? Because you take you're pretty diligent when you do your recaps. You take notes. Like
I've gotten better at it. I don't do like possession. I used to almost do like possession by possession, but I will do 150 to 200 words per quarter. And this was a game where Dallas came out and punched the Thunder in the mouth because they keep doing this tactically reasonable thing where they're letting one of Dallas's non-shooters take the shots that they're okay with with Derek Jones Jr. or PJ Washington, not the best shooters in the league, taking open shots. They're okay with that. You have to give up something on defense. Here's the thing. Those guys tonight was like Derek Jones Jr. was a new one. Just punch the Thunder directly in the mouth. And their defensive game plan kind of goes to hell. And the other thing that happened tonight, and this was very evident from the opening tip, my 3.5-minute screed about Luka Doncic on Monday night, apparently someone in his life must have reiterated everything that we collectively, I'm not unique in my rant and my feelings, thought. And Luka Doncic went out and played one of the finest games of basketball he's played this postseason and in his career, where it was so shockingly evident that he was like, you know what, I'm just going to go play. And he said so in the postgame. And he dominated the game in ways that really put the Thunder on their heels more and more as the game went along. And it wasn't like Luka delivered a heavyweight blow. It's not like he had a 16-point quarter or anything, but he just kept coming. And that paired with the brilliant Maverick defense, they were overwhelming. They were overwhelming. The Thunder were not in this game. The final score, some of the runs that happened, which we're going to talk about, the Thunder had 17 points off of turnovers and scored 92 points. If the Mavericks clean up their turnovers a little bit, they're going to beat the Thunder by 25. They are in this team's brain, and there's really not much the Thunder can do about it except pray.
Yeah, I was thinking watching this game. For one thing, the Mavericks took the lead. I think the Mavericks took the lead with 8 minutes in the first quarter and never trailed the rest of the game. They made it a 2-possession game with 11 minutes left in the second quarter, and it was never a 1-possession game for the rest of the night. So, even though it was only a 12-point win, it was a wire-to-wire, no doubter. Like there was no doubt the Mavericks were gonna win this game. I know, they had a 14-point lead in the second half in Game 4, but I truly feel that was like a black swan event game. And we talked about that after the game because I wasn't really, some people want to see me get real fired up about losses or about certain moments. And I'm too, I'm Danny, I'm what's his name? Danny Glover and Lethal Weapon. Like this shit. Like it's hard for me to get going like that on a night to night basis. In the playoffs, there's so many games, and we're doing these so many late nights because so many West Coast teams are not in the playoffs. So now the Mavs are like the de facto second late game every time. Right. So yeah, it's just hard for me to get revved up like that for certain moments. But like I just knew that game four had fluke win written all over it for the Thunder. Like no disrespect to the Thunder. Like Shea played an incredible game, but like there was nothing in that game that said to me the Mavericks should be worried other than the fact that like you just can't drop winnable games in the playoffs because you can get, a small sample size like doesn't exist. Like you could just like the Thunder could just hit 23.
Yeah, no one cares about samples when somebody's raining threes from corners. It just doesn't matter.
Right. But I didn't see the Thunder do anything in that game that was like, oh wow, they've done some stuff that's gonna cause that. No, they hit 14 mid-range jumpers and the Mavericks played CTE ball in the final, 15 minutes of the game. So, and that happens and it sucks and fans were rightly mad about it. But I just taking a step back, I was like, I still feel like the Mavericks are in control. And when they led, they had the lead at the first time out, despite the fact that the Thunder finally did the thing that we were waiting for them to do, and they benched Josh Giddey. I was like, whoa, like if they're winning, if they won these minutes when those were the minutes that were killing this team, like the Mavericks were killing the Thunder when Giddey was on the floor in the first 4 games for the most part. Like if the Mavericks have the lead now, like the Thunder are running out of trump cards, like that Thunder's move was to bench Giddey. Like they should have been winning by like 8 to 12 points.
It flat out didn't work.
And didn't work. Yeah.
And Isaiah Joe is an unbelievable shooter. So if he hits, I mean, he was 2 of 8 from 3. If he's 4 of 8 and he's hitting them early, that changes things. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. But the non-SGA Thunder shot 8 of 36 from downtown.
They're looking a little 2020 to 2023 Dallas Mavericks.
I mean, they're challenging. I mean, it's like, and everybody's, we talked earlier when we did the series preview. One of the things we talked about is like the Thunder could go on runs with the threes because the Mavericks are going to be okay forcing late shot clock threes, etc. Even if they're open from corners, the Mavericks are okay with that because the goal is to wall up the paint. Here's the thing, though. The Mavericks have so thoroughly closed off the paint, it doesn't feel like the Thunder are really making much of an effort outside of SGA. And so that frees up Derek Jones to wildly contest Lou Dort threes where he's getting second and third jumps after pump fakes. I mean, it feels like the Mavericks are everywhere on defense. Like the SGA doing his, I don't mean to be, I mean this is a compliment, but SGA in this series has kind of played like guard Dirk, where he's taking these really impossible, tough mid-range shots and, shoulder bumping and spinning and connecting. But that's the only offensive option they have. That's really all they have. That and fast break points. Like it's crazy. This is, I mean, we talked about the 2011 defense, which was a bend and don't break defense, which was built on verticality and stopping LeBron and Wade from getting to the rim as best as possible, which they did. But over the course of that playoffs, there was a lot more offensive stuff. This defense is wild. I am just in awe. Even when there's kind of a rut, like Daniel Gafford was a minus 10 on the floor tonight, I still felt like he was so impactful. It's just really brilliant.
He had that awesome block on Chet at the rim. Where at first glance I thought it was a total foul, and then I saw the replay and I think he kind of skimmed the ball before he hit him on the arm. Like that was a great play. And the Thunder got to the rim for the first time. They shot 16 of 21 in the restricted area. That's by far the best that they've shot, and I think it's the most makes they've had in the restricted area all series. But it didn't matter because they shot 10 of 40 from 3. They were 2 of 12 from the corner. And I know a lot of that's going to be shot variance. And Isaiah Joe going 2 of 8 from 3. That I don't know if you can necessarily count on that. But the Mavericks are leaving guys open. Like the way that some of these Thunder players are getting spot ups, like Lou Dort, like I've seen that, and someone's talking to me on Twitter right now about like Lou Dort was 39% shooter, and now he's shooting whatever he's shooting right now. Before Lou Dort was 39% shooter this season, he was largely like in the 33, 34, 29, 33. Like, I'm not convinced that he's a great shooter. Like, he's only had one playoff run before in 2020, and he shot 26% from three. Like, we talk about this all the time. There's a difference between the regular season and the postseason. There just is. They are different sports. The way the teams scout, game plan, and prepare for the NBA playoffs is so wildly different from the NBA regular season that I truly believe that they're different. Like, they're different versions of basketball. Like, they're not the same. They are just not the same. And the Mavericks do not care that Dort was a 39% shooter because they've basically been like, hey, okay, you're a better shooter this year, career high. Prove it when we're locked in on defense and we're walling off the rim and we're making life difficult and maybe your catches aren't as easier and maybe you're having to take a couple more side steps because we're running you off the line. Like, Dort took at least 2 or 3 like pump fake sidestep threes, and like that he's not that guy, right? Like, he's the standstill spot up. I need 20 feet to get a 3 off and make it in the regular season when we're playing Charlotte and we're up 15 and there's no pressure. Like, it's just, no offense to Lou Dort, I'm just saying it's different. And we've seen it with the Mavericks. We saw it in 2020 and 2021 where those good offenses just clammed up aside from Luka. Like, it was literally the exact same thing that we're seeing right now with the Thunder, where you realize that there's a difference. There are 82 game players and there are 16 game players. And right now the Mavericks have more 16 game players than the Thunder. And it's crazy because it's a 3-2 series and it's like, this is the most I've seen a team dominate a series, but it being 3-2. Like, it's so weird.
And do we talk about Luka? My brain is just
we gotta talk about Luka. It was because he played a great game.
I don't know. I couldn't be prouder.
Yeah,
it's a response game. I was so upset the other night, and I really was. Like, this season, I think by and large, just the fact that I had a new baby and too much stuff going on, I've really not gotten super pissed in games for people who followed the show for a really long time. I was real mad. I
know.
And he always, Luka very rarely disappoints you twice in a row. He very rarely walks away from something and doesn't take a level of responsibility. And so this performance tonight, he didn't say anything to the refs. Like, he didn't talk to the refs at all that I saw. I mean, it was crazy, like, to the point to where the commentators were kind of talking about it rather like consistently. And a friend of the show, don't want to name him, but brought something up that we've kind of talked around, but I don't think I've actually said out loud. And that's how much Luka's complaining and talking to the officials wastes his mental energy, and how much, like, we talk about how it affects his play, but the specific notion of when Luka's really bad with the refs, it saps him of his energy. And he finished this game spry. He looked ready to go. He looked like he could play another 12 minutes. And that was interesting because he has looked so haggard because he is constantly talking, complaining, etc. And not tonight. And if they go close this in 6, it'll be in large part because he decided, and really he said it's a post game. He said, I just decided to go have fun, play basketball. And it's so important to his game. Like, joy is such an important element of the Luka Doncic game.
Yeah, because it allows him to utilize his talent. Like, it's hard to make a 3/4 alley-oop pass to Derek Lively, which is one of the best passes he's made ever. It's hard to do that when you're looking back at the refs and you're taking yourself out of the game. But yeah, I thought that was, like, when Lucas said that, I thought that was hilarious. Like, it was amazing because we deal with this thing where we're not even like, we're just like, I don't even want to. Is it criticizing? It was just like, we're just stating facts. Like, hey, Luka's playing poorly. He's doing these things that are not well. They need to change. And then people lose their mind for 48 hours and they're like, well, no, like, he's hurt. So, like, everything he does is because he's hurt. And it's like, okay, there's more nuance to this. And like, just because we're saying he's playing poorly doesn't mean we don't like him as a player or that we disrespect him or anything. We're just stating the obvious. Like, he's shooting the worst he's ever shot in these playoffs. He's never had 7-game stretch, even in like a regular season where he shot this poorly. Like, it's a factor. And if you want to attribute it mostly to the injuries, okay, but like, it has to change. And then he comes out and he's like, yeah, I needed to, I lost it and I needed to come back. Like, and it like totally confirming, like, we saw it. And like, all these people are trying to deny that, like, that reality. And then Luka just casually after the game is like, oh yeah, like I had to cut the shit out. Like, I had to figure it out. I had to stop worrying about the things I didn't need to worry about. So like, that was just a kind of like refreshing, like, okay, reality exists. Like, it was just good to see that, him, say that. And he's always been, and that's what's so funny about like this discussion is Luka's always, I mean, it's kind of funny because he'll say like, yeah, I took too many bad shots, and then he'll come out the next game and shoot like 15 threes. But he's always the first one to say like, yeah, I played like shit. Like, he will say that before anyone else, like almost regularly. Like, it's kind of one of his hallmarks, I think, because he doesn't say a lot to the media. And one of the things he always does say is when he plays like crap, he usually never makes excuses. Like, as much as the injury discussion has come up between like media and fans, like, he hasn't really leaned on it that much.
No.
Like,
I mean, he leans on body language and how he plays, but there's
like,
no verbal.
Yeah. So like, that was just refreshing, and that's not about what's on the floor necessarily. I know we're talking about other stuff, but that was just refreshing to hear. But yeah, he came out and looked awesome. I knew that this was going to be different for him when in that first quarter, I don't know if you remember, where he tried to draw a foul near the 3-point line and took like a 22-foot one-handed floater that he made. And he did the thing where, he tried to draw a foul and tried to exaggerate the contact. And when the shot went in, I looked right at Luka because I was like, oh, he's going to be pissed. He's going to be working that ref all the way back up the floor. And he didn't. He turned around and he walked up the floor. Like, he might have said a word. Like, he might have did a look, but like, he didn't. There was nothing. I was like, okay, like, he's decided, like, he's just not going to engage in that. And yeah, I think it makes a big difference because, like I said, you don't make awesome full court alley-oop passes when you're talking to the refs. So like, he totally looked back, like, he looked like Luka, and it's one of the few times we've been able to say that this playoffs. And it's not surprising that the Mavericks, comfortably won a game because their defense has been doing the job and their role players have been doing the job. We've just been waiting for Luka, which is the weirdest thing to say. Like,
ever.
Never had to say that.
Never have had to say it in 6 years. Let's talk about the statistical profile of Luka's game. So he and SGA, I'm just going to stop trying to say the man's name. For the record, he gave an interview about how he wants his, not an interview, but someone asked him how he wants his name pronounced. And I confuse myself after every game about which one it is. Okay, so that's why I'm just going to call him SGA. I don't want to disrespect.
Is it Shay, or does he say it's Shy?
I mean, there was an interview, and in my head, I am like, he said it was something different, and that's actually not even his full name. Like, it's okay. You look him up, and it's something different. Anyways, he and Luka shot 12 of 22 from the floor, both of them. But Luka, so when the three ball's going down, that obviously changes a big portion of Luka's game. 5 of 11 from three. I remember, there's the floating one you talked about. He hit 2 catch and shoot ones that were just gorgeous, and it's a reminder how many more catch and shoot threes he's gotten this year. That obviously changes his game, but inside the arc, he was 7 of, what is that? Yeah, I'm doing my math right. 7 of 11. What's his statistical profile look like? What kind of shots was he making from inside the arc?
He was 2 of 2 restricted area, 4 of 7 in the paint outside of the restricted area. Only 2 mid-range jumpers,
which is great. And so he hit a couple of floaters that I saw where I'm just like, there it is. There it is. There's not the waiting for contact. There's the taking the shot that the defense is giving to you.
Yeah, so. This was 2020 Luka. Like, remember when he was like all threes and like he was all threes and all paint, and that was Luka tonight. And like you said, they were kind of giving it to him, and he wasn't taking it, and he definitely took it tonight. And that was good to see. Like, when he's making shots in that floater area, like, that's when I feel like he's most dominant as a scorer. Because that is almost always the spot of the floor that defenses are like, okay, we concede because like we don't want to give we don't want to give you the rim. We don't want to give you let you walk into a 3-pointer, and we don't want you to pass. We don't want you to pass open someone at the rim or the 3. So we're going to let you take like a 12-foot floater because statistically that's not a great shot across the NBA, and he's so incredible at it. That's when he's rolling, when he's cooking in that range. Like he's unstoppable when he's making shots down there.
Yeah. Oh goodness. All right, let's cut to a break real quick, and then we'll come back. Everybody hanging out here at in YouTube as we're going live, thank you so much. We passed 3,000 subscribers, which in 13 months, Josh and I are very, very pleased with. Couldn't be more grateful for the fans of this show. If you could consider liking the stream and subscribing if you're new here, would very much appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. Everybody listening on an audio version of this, either late at night or early Friday or Thursday morning. Is tomorrow Thursday? Yeah, Thursday in 15 minutes. Consider leaving a review, shoot me an email, find me on Twitter. Love talking with everybody. Love hanging out and doing this. And we'll be doing our secondary live show immediately after this. I'm going to stay up late. I'm taking off the next 2 days of work to do things around the house here. So I will have no problem staying up until like 2 or 3 in the morning if that's what everybody wants to do. Shout out to being 40 years old now. I can still stay up late and not die. That's not true. I'm going to pay for this all week long. But you know what? It's really fun talking basketball with everybody. Josh and I are going to insert some ads, and then we will be right back. Thanks so much for hanging out. Okay, we're back, and I want to give a quick shout-out to some of the people who are leaving us tips. Oh, my goodness. Too Much BTP just gave us an enormous tip. Let's go, Mavs. That Mavs Luka pass from the opposite side of the court to D-Live, absolutely insane. Keep up the great shows and content. What an incredibly generous thing. Thank you so much. Too Much BTP. Shout out to our friend Henry, who has left us 2 different tips here. His second one says, Kyrie is officially Patrick Beverley now. No. Kyrie is playing his butt off on defense. Really loving Kyrie. And then shout out to longtime listener, Brian Roby. He pronounces it Shy, I believe, better defender this series. Luka or Shy? The answer may surprise you. And I really actually do kind of want to talk about that real briefly. I know this is a Mavericks podcast, but I was the proud roster. I rostered Shy on my fantasy basketball team. The man got 4 steals like every night. Really incredible during the regular season. He's ball watching this series. He's been awful.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with him is like I think he led the NBA in steals.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by like a statistically significant margin, like kind of wild actually.
And I think credit to the Mavericks and credit to Jason Kidd, credit to the coaches, who credit to the whole team, whoever whatever's going on there. They very clearly saw that on tape that Shea is a roamer. Like he does not guard the other team's best player, which is not a dig. Like not stars usually don't do that. Like defense is more than just one-on-one. It's a team. Like playing good defense requires a team concept in unison. So
and the Thunder are good at defense.
That's not a dig. That's not a dig. He's good at it. Like they love him roaming the passing lanes. Like he's a gambler. Like that's his defensive skill. And if you're good at it, that's a game-changing ability because they basically, they go from defense to offense and they're a young, fast team. They can play in transition. So it's really important. And the Mavericks are clearly aware of that. And Shea has been either on PJ Washington or Derek Jones Jr. And our own Matthew Phillips mentioned this in our Slack. So this isn't an original.
Like 3 games ago. This is like he was on this on game 2 when the Mavericks
when PJ went off.
When PJ went off. And I honestly, part of me feels bad for him to a degree because I think there's been a kind of coaching decision to say, you know what, if we get killed by the role players, we get killed by the role players.
Right. I think that's what they're living and dying on that. But to be fair, like the role players have to make the shots, so credit to the Mavericks, but they're not just making like wide open spot up 3. Like they are aware that Shea is guarding those guys and they are moving those guys in different spots on the floor to make things difficult and to take advantage of Shea's roaming. Like PJ Washington had, I can't remember if it was game 2 or game 3, where he had that dunk off the inbounds because Shea was just totally in like la la land trying to like go for a steal and PJ just went right to the rim and got a dunk. PJ posted him up a couple of times because again, like if he's not because he was kind of like lingering and trying to play pat. And it's like, okay, boom, we're going to rotate the ball over. We're going to get it in the post. And Shea's toast, like he's not in position, and PJ scored on him. And Derrick Jones Jr. has been doing that. Like he made 3 threes, which is really great for him. But he made 4 2-pointers.
Really.
He made 4 2-pointers, and he was scoring, taking advantage of Shea not paying attention to him, trying to roam off steals, and the Mavericks basically weaponized that to get good looks. I think, that's credit to the coaching. Like they clearly saw that on the tape, that they're like, wow, Shea, they put Shea on a bad offensive player and they let him try to wreak havoc off ball. Let's use that against him. Like almost like teams used to do to Russell Westbrook, who had that kind of manic off ball energy. And it was like, if we just like play into it, it's almost like driving into the skid. Like if you're skidding in your car, like driving into it, like we're going to be fine. Like it's harder for Shea to roam and kill you off ball when you're going at him directly with the player he's guarding, and forcing him to make some tough decisions, which clearly wasn't ready for.
For everyone listening to the show, I briefly stunted Josh because I put something in front of my camera. In honor of SGA's bad defense, I am drinking a Clearly Canadian tonight during the show. I'm so impressed. So those are kind of the big things. I got a little lost about what else to write about. So I actually had my friend Jared Dubin pull me what he saw as the post game points off turnovers, and he sent me, where did it go? I had it up here a second ago. The Thunder had 10 points off of steals, so 8 different possessions, and then they had 12 points off of 10 dead ball turnovers. So that can't be right. That seems how many? So they had it. If he's the stats he's pulling for me basically show that they show the Thunder scoring 22 points off of Mavericks turnovers. So if that's the case, the Mavericks just put this Thunder. I'm shocked. I just wanted to revisit that number because it's like that the Mavericks held the Thunder to their lowest point total of the season with 92 points. I just wanted to revisit that because it's just so crazy to me. I can't even imagine.
I mean, OKC hasn't had a good offensive game since game 1. They've played 4 straight bad offensive games.
What do we nitpick? What do we? I don't.
Let's not nitpick. I got another thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
Okay, Derrick Jones Jr. in the games 4 and 5, 36 combined points. Jalen Williams, 20. Wait, no, he has. Oh my God, I'm doing this. No, wait. All right, now I got it. Derrick Jones Jr. games 4 and 5, 36 points. Jalen Williams, 26 points combined. So doesn't that kind of like say the series right there that the Thunder's second best player has been outplayed thoroughly on the offensive side of the basketball by the Mavericks, like fifth starter for the most part? Like that they don't ask for offense at all, that they don't care if he shoots like 1 of 10. They won. By the way, they won games 2 and they won games 2 and 3 with Jones scoring combined 12 points on 4 of 22 shooting. So like clearly they don't care if Derrick Jones Jr. doesn't score points, but he does. When he does, it's a bonus, and he's still outscoring the Thunder's second best player. Like I think that just shows like people were worried about the Thunder's inexperience in the playoffs, and I think we're seeing that kind of play out.
It's pretty crazy. Strong performances from a number of guys. Weird performances for other people that
Talk about the weird lineups.
I need to understand, because it's like the Mavericks won, so ultimately that they won is what is important. I desperately need to understand Tim Hardaway Jr. and Jaden Hardy minutes. I need to understand it. Now, somebody correctly pointed out to me, Hardy had 2 very nice passes resulting in dunks. So Hardy did some stuff with his point guarding minutes, and I gotta give him credit there. I also thought it was pretty interesting, quite candidly, that Jason Kidd put him back in after he got up 5 shots in 8 minutes. Like, simmer down there, big fella.
With Kyrie on the floor, by the way, which is the weirdest. I'm just at this point, I almost believe it's like something that Kyrie's doing like on purpose, like to. Like, I almost wonder if he's like trying to. Now, this is like me getting like way into like armchair psychologist. Like, is he trying to be like, yeah, you guys got it. Like, you don't need to just stand and watch me. Like, you guys do it. Like, I believe in you. Like,
I don't mind.
Is this a team chemistry thing that he's trying?
I think it might be to a degree. I don't mind if he's passing, but he wasn't involved in the offense in the end of the first quarter. The Thunder just missed shots, and the Mavericks took a 24-22 lead in the second quarter with the Maverick offense itself just going to hell. And it was heinous. And I was just, the Tim Hardaway minutes, we know Jason Kidd is going to keep playing him until they quite literally get him off the team. So I have
also, he only played 12 minutes. So
yeah, and he hit, he hit 1-3, and then he hit a nice floater to get things going in the fourth quarter. I'm just the Kyrie Hardaway minutes have, and I could be wrong, but we talked about this in the season. I'm pretty sure they get annihilated in those minutes.
I'm not sure what. Do you want to filibuster?
Look up because we talked about this at one point, and then the Mavericks just stopped doing it because they didn't have to after they traded for everyone. So I'm like, what is going on here? And so I suppose what I want is, if we're going to do things like this, Kyrie at least has to be involved. He can't be a highly paid decoy. He's a good point guard, as we have seen. And tonight he didn't even really get a chance to distribute the ball that much. Just four assists to go along with 12 points. He's a plus 12.
He's been playing the best defense of his life.
And that is extremely important to what the Mavericks do. So I don't want to undercut it. It's just those, that combination of three guys does not make any sense to me.
But they got away with it.
Have you found them yet?
I'm hitting filter lineups right now.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. And so
were okay. So when Kyrie, Tim, and Jaden Hardy were on the floor in the regular season, the Mavericks were minus 6.2 points per 100 possessions, and they gave up 127 points per 100 possessions on defense.
That's
a lot.
That's N times bad.
Yeah, that's worse than the Charlotte Hornets.
And they only tried it 5 times. We all remember it. We would come in here and talk about it, be like, what the fuck are they doing? Please stop doing that thing. Yeah. And then Kidd tries it in a playoff game on the road. So, LOL, Jason Kidd. Shout out to that.
That just says, he's done with Exum.
Which is sad. Exum actually,
and you can't blame him. You can't blame Kidd for that at all.
No, and it was horrifying. Hardy goes in and gives up a dunk immediately. And so I was just like, what is happening here? And he settled down and played within his role. He finished, he finished -2, which in 15 minutes, you're just trying not to die. So so that's close really something.
If your bench can be as close to even as possible when their starting 5 is this good, which it is, and it's been playing really well, and especially with Lively, you just want Green. Yeah, like you said, you want Green, Hardaway, whoever else is playing off the bench that's not Lively, because Lively is obviously counted on to be a huge impact, which we can maybe talk about next. But you just want those fringe bench guys to be as close to even as possible. Even if it's -1, you're like, all right, that's fine. Let the starters take care.
And maybe Exum, if the Mavericks were to win this series, every series is new and different, so you never know what you're going to see.
They'll get another chance.
It's good to see different guys getting opportunities. It was interesting to see kids stick with Hardy that long with some of the kind of questionable choices, quite candidly. But the one that really killed me, the Mavericks were up 18 in the fourth quarter. Thunder called timeout. The Mavericks turned the ball over essentially 4 times in a row. There's a PJ Washington travel. There's Tim Hardaway, who just loses the ball in the lane. Then Hardaway shoots an air ball 3 over the rim. And I'm sorry, I want to start considering air ball 3-pointers turnovers. I don't know how the hell you would possibly calculate that, but it's essentially a live ball turnover because you're just giving the ball to the defense on the run. It's not even a rebound because guys are so used to things hitting the rim. Then you have just that split second to reorient yourself and get back on defense. Then Kidd calls a timeout because the Thunder scored 8 straight points. Luka turned the ball over too. He threw a really bad pass down the lane to someone. I want to say it was, and so all of a sudden, the Mavericks are up 8, and it's like, guys, and again, I talked about this earlier. I wrote about this. If you just stop turning the ball over quite so much, they had 14 turnovers tonight, which isn't a ton, but we've also seen the Mavericks have games where they have 7 turnovers. what it is.
It wasn't a ton, but the Thunder only had 7. So it just
the role players cannot turn over the ball. Like PJ Washington had 3.
Yeah, like Luka and Kyrie combined for 4.
4. That's
awesome.
Fine.
Yeah.
Lively had 3, 2 of which were offensive fouls on screens, I think. Those are kind of, you throw your hands up in the air. And it just
had 3.
Yeah, and Gafford Gafford only had 1, but it's like they just add up in a game where all the possessions matter, and you just don't want to see the Mavericks. It's just like the free throw thing the other night. You don't want to see the Mavericks lose the game because of something like that.
Right.
So,
but you want to talk about Lively before?
Yeah,
we got to talk about Lively, right? I mean, he's awesome. I don't know what to say. Like, he's 20 years old. Like,
best center in the Southwest Division.
I don't know if I'm there yet, but I know, but
plays his role perfectly though, man.
I just he's 20. Like, he's 20 and he's doing this in his first playoff series. Like,
he looks like he belongs. He makes a big difference every time he's out there. Like, it's incredible when he makes his shots how much better he looks. And he's looked great, but it's
what's he gonna look like in 5 years? like is he an all NBA player in 5 years? Like,
I mean, what? I don't really know, because it's like I think there are elements of his game we don't get to see enough of.
Yeah, I know. I mean, even if he doesn't expand his game, like, I'm just like, he's on a path to be like, a double double, like Rudy Gobert level defensive force, like linchpin play, like, and that's Rudy Gobert's made an all NBA team, I think. So, like, I mean, he's on that path, and he's a better athlete than Rudy Gobert, by the way. So he has even more potential to, to be like a guy that can switch and do a lot of other different things. And he's obviously, like, his offensive game is so polished, even though he's struggled in the playoffs. Like, he's such, that's why it was so weird in the first couple of games of the series. Like, he's such a composed finisher, and he's such a good decision maker in the short roll. Like the 3 turnovers today, you're like, what's going on? But I don't know. He is like,
the turnovers were offensive fouls, though. They were all screens.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But like, quietly, like, we haven't had to talk about it because I don't think it's burned them. But like, a subplot of this playoff run is that Lively has outplayed Gafford considerably in terms of like winning impact. And that's not even really a knock on Gafford. But Lively has just been so good, and like, they're losing the Gafford minutes and winning the Lively minutes. I know there's more to it than that. It's not, there's more to the individual plus minus. I'm not trying to just that, but like, the Mavericks keep winning, so it hasn't needed to come up. Like, you don't make a change when you're rolling like this. But I've thought a couple times, like, if they get down, like, they've only trailed in these series when they've been when they lose the game 1. After game 1 of the Clippers series and this series, they've been either winning the series or tied. So they've never trailed after game 1. So they probably haven't felt the pressure move. Like, I've been thinking, like, are they going to start Lively over Gafford? Because like, they keep, when Lively comes into the game, it's a total transfer, like, not a total transformation, but it's just like, holy crap. Like, he's just popping off the screen. Like, he's been amazing. Like,
he couldn't set screens in the summer. He couldn't set screens 10 months ago.
The Mavericks thought he was going to be in the G League for half the season in the summer.
I don't know about that. Well,
no, that's what they did. Remember, they told I can't remember which story it was. Maybe it was Tim Cato or Tim McMahon. They were, when they drafted him, their plan was they thought he was going to be in the G League.
Sure, play a lot up and down. That's interesting.
Yeah. Now he's winning game 5s on the road, like, being part of the winning time lineup. Like, it's crazy. Like, he's so good, and his length and quickness. Like, that's the thing I think, like, Gafford is not doing a terrible job, but like, Lively, I think Lively has like, what, 4 inches on wingspan, and like, he's taller than, like, he's just bigger, longer, and faster, and that makes a difference. Like, you see the different, like, Gafford is really good at the restricted area and guarding when guys get to the restricted area. But if you try to ask him to creep out a little bit more, like near the free throw line, you can see he's a little bit more uncomfortable. Lively looks totally comfortable contesting the pick and roll at the level of the screen and near the free throw line and challenging those floaters, while also being able to rotate back to the rim and help if the ball gets passed around. Like, he's an impressive player, and he was amazing tonight. He was absolutely incredible.
Love it, man. I obviously very much agree. Just at a certain point, it's like the dude has been, somebody noted his plus minus in the series is like approaching the 60s. It's pretty off the wall.
Crazy.
Oh, and as Nick Angstadt of Locked On Mavs just tweeted, imagine if Luka were more healthy, and imagine if Maxi Kleber was playing in this series. And that's actually, I don't necessarily want to imagine the Maxi element of this, because I think it's fairly important to note how these two have stepped up. Now, the Thunder were the team where you could get away with having just these two, because the Thunder aren't very big. But it's
Clippers aren't very big either.
That's true. No, yeah, but
I know.
They're so long. Yeah,
I know what you mean.
All right. Well, do we have anything else? I should let you go to bed.
No, I think that's about. I don't know what else to say. I mean, that was just. I mean, that's a really awesome playoff win. Like, I just super impressed with how they came about, and there was no hangover from Game 4. So
I've been recording into the wrong thing just the whole time. I'm surprised you didn't tell me that before the show.
Oh, what, your microphone?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't sound that bad.
What about now?
Man, God. All right, sorry.
Everybody. Yeah, 40 minutes into a show. Shout out to.
I'm usually good at picking up that, but you sound like in my brain. It was like you sounded okay.
Well. Yeah, John, shout out to my friend of the program, John Gennaro, texting me that 25 minutes ago and me not seeing it until now.
I'm sorry.
I mean, nobody really,
no one in the comments even said anything.
No, usually someone in the comments zings me on it. It's just I like when I move my setup around, because like my office is off my bedroom, and when it's a late game like this, my wife is like, no, go downstairs. So I just have to relocate everything and then replug everything back in, because I'm operating off of a laptop, which is truly ridiculous. But here we are. All right, guys. Josh, you go on and go to bed. Everybody else hang out here and come talk a little basketball with me about this game. Let's hang out till the wee hours, because there's nothing more fun than if there's one thing more fun than your team winning a basketball game, it's talking about a team winning a basketball game with your friends. Josh, thank you so much for hanging out. Everybody else, please hang around, and we will be right back. Those on the audio stream, look for the secondary show to post Thursday afternoon. We will see everyone on Saturday. Oh, that's actually it. Let's talk about that for just a second.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
3 months ago, my wife started planning a 40th birthday party for me. This was before the trade, when the Mavericks were looking mid. I think it was like when they were like 29 and 26, something like that. It was kind of a rough time. So we literally put it as far out in advance as possible. I mean, my birthday is May 12th, but we then bumped it a week because of Mother's Day. This has been on the calendar for my whole staff for three months, because I invited everybody that works in Mavs Moneyball, because we all basically live together on the internet during the season. We're going to do something after Game 6. I don't know what that something is. It might be Josh and I recording together in person, where we do something like this, where he and I are sharing a mic. I'm honestly not sure. I don't think there will be a secondary show, just because I have a bunch of people flying in town, and I want to actually see the people that have made time for me. So just kind of understand that going into it. But everybody, we will be right back, and thank you so much for hanging out. We appreciate everyone. Oh, we got 3 more tips to thank. I didn't even thank a couple more folks who gave. Wade, thank you for your support. Another $10. He says, I didn't. Let's go Mavs. Glenn King with a quick tip. Paul Armstrong says, send THJ to X-Mav Island. Louis Stevens says, shout out to Little John in Oklahoma City. And thank you for the tip from Goracol. All right, we will be right back. Everybody, stand pat. Where is the right button? It's about 12 o'clock on Thursday morning, May 16th. You're joining Pod Maverick Mavs Party. We're here to talk a little basketball following the Dallas Mavericks taking a 3-2 series lead over the Oklahoma City Thunder, 104-92, and what was one of the most fun and dominating and very stressful games of the year, but that's what the playoffs are supposed to be about. We're here hanging out. If you missed the recap show, please check your podcast feed for that. Josh and I just talked for about 40 minutes. This show is our fan participation show where you can come talk basketball with me. We already got 3 people waiting. If you have never done this show before, join us live on YouTube after these playoff games. We stay up late. It's very easy to join the show. I post a link in the comments where you can click that link. You can join from your computer. You can join from your phone. You can show your face if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. And we stay up just enjoying one another's company, or when they win and celebrating a Mavs win, or lamenting a loss and being sad together. Coming up first is longtime listener and friend Tyler. Tyler, what's going on, man?
Dude, what's up? What a game. I'm going to keep this quick. I have to talk about Luka. So, Luka's had
Who? Luka? I'm unfamiliar.
Some guy who plays basketball, apparently. He's played some games in the playoffs. We know this. He's a playoff riser. Under the circumstances of what he's been in these playoffs and in these series, this might be my favorite, vintage Luka game that I've seen from him in the playoffs. The shot making, the play making, not bitching the entire time, just being completely honest, it was incredible. I had a great time watching him, and it honestly was maybe my favorite Luka game I've ever watched. That was awesome. Spiritual even.
That's high praise.
It's when you don't see it coming almost is when it's the best. And you could have convinced me after game 4 that he was just not going to have it this series. And he'd had every excuse in the world to not have it. But to come out there and give you 31, 10, and 11, efficient, 5 of 11 from 3, just the 2 turnovers like you mentioned on the pod, that's the stuff that makes you a legend. And he brought it tonight, man. That was incredible.
Well, we all have these, those of us who watch games like we do and join shows like this, if we're candid, we all have a parasocial relationship with these athletes, and people get a little ridiculous. That's just sort of the nature of it. And it is very funny to note the internet discourse over 2 days from people who absolutely defend him. And that's okay. I make fun of it a little bit. It's not my thing. I shouldn't make fun of it considering I don't like being told how to behave myself. But how cool is it to just watch him man up, shut his mouth, go play, then acknowledge that he did those things in the post game and be like, and it's buddy, look, I understand you sometimes got to get yourself going, but what if, and just hear me out, Luka, what if you did that all the time?
Truly. It was freaking awesome, dude. It was like I said, it was my favorite Luka game I've ever seen. That 65-foot lob he threw to Lively there in the second quarter, spiritual stuff.
Just the greatest. That Josh said he thought it might be one of Luka's best passes, and I was dying. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's up there, man.
You wanted something embarrassing? I actually didn't see it. Because I was the Thunder, either they had scored or they got the rebound. So I'm down typing stuff on my computer, and then all of a sudden you hear whoever's on the mic screaming. It's just awesome. So
hey, Ian Eagle's the GOAT. He's up there with our guy Mike Breen and
right.
Kevin Harlan too. He's up there. But yeah, awesome stuff. And shout out to Lively. When they tried to hack him again at the end, nailed 2 free throws with 2:15 left. It was he gets up for when he gets intentionally fouled, I guess.
Yeah. Well, maybe Bill Simmons will address the Hack-A-Lively on his next podcast when he's busy telling all of us that the Thunder are the better team and that SGA is the better player.
Probably not. Let's be real.
We'll see. Tyler, thanks so much for hanging out. We'll talk soon, okay?
See you, man.
All right, we already got 5 more people waiting. This is great. Brian, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing much, man. I just watched Nice little basketball game. You know what I'm saying? I watched Luka outplay Shea on defense again for like the 5th time in this series. So that was fun. Did anybody else have a heart attack at the Kyrie, Hardy, Tim Hardaway lineups?
Yes, the whole time. Like audible screaming, my wife being like, what is going on? Look, man, Jason Kidd hasn't trolled us in like 3 weeks. He was due.
He was due, but is that number 1 on the court I see? And then I look up 3 minutes later. Is that Tim Hardaway Jr. out there with him? Oh, and then Tim either turned it over or he missed an open 3. And then Hardy walked into a midi that he bricked. And I was like, I'm going to shoot somebody. I'm going to throw my TV out my window. Like, I was irate.
And they somehow didn't lose those minutes.
They survived.
That's just baffling.
Well,
and
what it was.
He's going to try it again. That's what because, coaches go with what works. And it worked, man. I hate it. It worked.
That's what I was going to say. He's going to go back to it next game. And I think he should, because Hardy made his first 3. Other than that midi pull-up that was atrocious, didn't really take any shots that we didn't need him to, right? Took some shots, even if he missed them, that we were wanting Exum to take in the game. And he had 2 really good lob passes for assists at kind of crucial points to like kind of keep the lead at like 8-10.
No, right? I was he peeled back the shot selection. Because he took 5 shots in 8 minutes. Then he played 7 more minutes and took no more shots. And Hardy is I like Hardy catch and shoots. Always have. I like Hardy going downhill. Mm-hmm. This is just not the time for that. Simmer down. And granted, someone has to shoot. And one day, Kyrie will realize that it's him. But today was not that day, and they won anyways. Oh, God, he was 2-2 from 3. That's pretty amazing. So.
Yeah, it's just funny because like I was yelling about Tim, especially in that stretch where OKC cut the lead from 18 to 10, being led mostly by their fearless leader Tim Hardaway Jr. Except Tim breaking those shots and getting them out in transition and letting them run. That happened because the stars were on the court and not going and taking the ball away from Tim. That's not his fault. His job is to shoot.
Yep, and shoot he will given the opportunity.
Yeah, and him closing, I was like, and Kyrie at the end, not really looking like Ish Smith instead of Kyrie Irving. I was like, but we closed it out. The defense was excellent.
Yes, it was.
Derrick Jones Jr. finally had the Magnus game. It wasn't.
Hold on. You said the defense was awesome as always. That's a crazy fucking sentence,
right?
Like we were like at this point last year, we were on the off-season pods being like, what are we gonna do? And the Mavericks didn't move in the lottery. And like we're a year later, we're like this is some Pistons area defense. I mean, I said to one of my national media friends, I'm like, when is it gonna become a talking point that the Mavericks beat the shit out of you defense is a thing? Because it's not, nobody talks about it. It's like all the pods I listen to, it's always about what the other teams are doing wrong and how the Mavericks are executing in certain ways. And I don't mean to like complain about it. I don't really care what national media folks say, but it's just like at a certain point, I expect that like Lively is defending like, I don't know, prime Ben Wallace down there in 2004. Like you don't get in the lane on him. It's crazy.
Look, dude, Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, a little bit less so in this series and the early part of the Clipper series, but Gafford's still been an important part. Sure. Josh Green even. Kyrie and Luka both. Like, we've held OKC under 105 points, I want to say, every game except for game 1 in this series. And it doesn't, and all it ever feels like anybody talked about is, man, OKC's offense looked bad. Yeah, no shit. There are 5 other people across from them keeping them from getting to the rim. Yeah. So I'm just excited. The defense looks good. The offense looks something like halfway reasonable again, which was very nice. And if we get that in the next game, we win, we move on. Simple as that.
Yep. I love it. Feels good, man. You got anything else?
Look, man, after we won that first round series, everything after that point was gravy. This is fun. I'm glad we're still playing basketball in May.
I love it. Talk soon, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Karam's coming up next. Karam, how you doing?
Good. Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. It's almost 10:30 in California. How you doing out there?
10:20, but close, yeah. I'm doing well. I'm actually really happy. I'm excited for possibly closing out, that series on Saturday. I think we've had this same routine: lose a game, win two, lose a game, win two. So, expecting that to happen. Um, I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be really fun. If it does happen, this Luka Jokic matchup is going to be really fun to watch.
So many options there. They're so good on offense. And I'm not quite ready to think about it yet, because every time this has been just how I am with sports always. Every time I put a foot ahead and start looking ahead, it's when you kind of get crushed. And the Mavericks, like, this should have been the closeout game, but the Mavericks took their foot off the gas just a little bit, and I don't think they can afford to think about that just yet.
No, I mean, it should have ended today, right? But
that's right.
They poo-pooed 2 days ago. So
yeah.
I have a question for you. I know you've had a lot of gripe with Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we do make it to the finals, I mean, not the finals, the Western Conference Finals, and we close out on Saturday, can we say Jason Kidd is actually a really damn good coach? 2 Western Finals out of 3 years.
Well, I mean, absolutely. I think you gotta. I think that he wanted to build this team in a very particular kind of way.
Yeah.
They found something in 2022 that worked, and they squeezed every bit that they could from it.
Yeah.
But based off their offseason moves, losing Brunson was obviously tough, but they wanted to be bigger.
Yeah.
And the problem was there weren't any players that they could get that were really worth getting that were bigger.
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
And so that's where they have gotten lucky, and there's no problem being like lucky is good. I would rather be lucky than good, but the change in the rules has affected this team in a really big way.
And I agree with you on that. And I think it's really impressive how everyone is buying on that on the defense. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah. I also don't think it's something you can do during the regular season, if I'm honest with you, because the night in, night out effort required, like, these guys have an end goal. So it's like, we're going to do this as long as possible. So, I mean, and really, let's just cast ahead, because he signed a contract extension.
Who?
What the Mavericks Jason Kidd did.
Yes.
So what the Mavericks have to do in follow-up years with Kidd is take the regular season a little bit more seriously and get a better seed. The Mavericks have never had home court. Home court is hard, but I think that's a goal you set, is to try to get home court next year.
I mean, I think with maybe you know this or not, but with flexibility, I mean, is Tim Hardaway done with this contract this year?
No, he's got one more year. He
has one more.
Yeah.
So maybe trade him and try and get another wing player, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we'll have to talk about this soon enough, but Derek Jones Jr. is going to be a challenge to retain. I do suspect they try to move Hardaway or Josh.
Yeah, and he did say
there's lots of things they could try to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm just really excited. It's been a while since. I mean, it hasn't been a while. I mean, it was like 2 years ago we made it to the Western Conference Finals, but I just feel like there's more of an optimism with the way this team is playing, that I feel like something really special will happen, or can happen, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they can beat the Nuggets, because, I mean, they just 3 in a row after going down 0-2, right? So and they've been dominating, but I don't know. I think it's just a fun matchup to see Luka and Jokic, the best big man versus potentially the best point guard in the NBA, and they're both European.
I also, just real quick, I got to clarify. Luka has never been involved with the Mavs having home court in the playoffs, because he entered 2022 against the Jazz. Didn't they have home court? Yeah, they had it, but Luka wasn't playing because his calf was hurt, and so that was the bear of that. So it's like my brain just doesn't accept that was home court. But someone in the comments pointed that out, so my bad.
Yeah, I was thinking that was against Utah that year, right?
Yep.
We were 4 and they were 5.
And we lost. They lost game 1. That was the only competitive game 1 that they've had in the entire. But yeah, so kid has been great. That's the to answer your question.
We lose with kids since kid. We lose every first round game, but we win 2 in a row.
And I went back though. It's more than that though. The Mavericks had won game 1 once since 2011. Like it goes back far, and they play
Really?
and that they had just been pretty bad because you're not at home very often. The Mavs were only at home that one time. They had home court once, and it was against the Jazz, and they lost the first game. And that was without Luka, but they'd only done it one other, so they had surprised somebody on the road. So it's like I think sometimes I overemphasize certain things when it tells the narrative that I want to tell, but it's hard to win when you're on the bottom or on the lower side of the bracket. So
true. Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Talk soon.
Go Mavs.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Jacob's coming up next. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. Thanks for joining me. What do you think about tonight?
Very happy. Survived another heart attack. When they made a little run there in the fourth, I started to breathe pretty hard. But the thing I wanted to talk about actually, and I don't know if you've discussed this, but I'm curious what you think of Kyrie's approach in this series. I mean, he's clearly trying to facilitate and build confidence in other players. But I've seen multiple times, and obviously like Jalen Williams is a strong defensive player, and then you've got Chet behind him to defend at the rim. But I mean, he's turning down open shots. I've seen it time and time again, like, a pass from PJ to Kyrie and then an immediate pass back to PJ. And, and if he thinks that we can win, without him contributing, if offensively, then, I mean, he knows something that I don't know. But, what do you think about that?
It's driving me a little crazy. But if he's going to keep playing defense like he has, it's a little hard for me to be too bothered as long as they're winning. Now, I just told Crom I didn't want to look ahead, but I think that who he's being matched up with, meaning the much bigger, stronger Jalen Williams, whoever the Mavericks play next, they don't have a guy like that. Either team that would guard him, because you would have, let's see, I don't want to go look at the Wolves roster. That's not true. I absolutely want to go look at the Timberwolves roster right now. They have some guys. Let's see here. Where are we at? This is just great podcasting, me looking up another team's roster.
I mean, I imagine they put McDaniels on
Luka. You got to.
Luka.
You got to. And then, I mean, I guess you probably have like Nickeil Alexander-Walker maybe at some point. You got Conley at some points. But Conley's 6 foot tall. Like you would obviously have a fair amount of Ant on him, who's a pretty amazing defender, but Ant's 6'4". He's not 6. Generally a big guy. I mean, Ant is too. I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not overly worried about it though, because I think that the game plan right now is to just let things come, and he doesn't force shots. And if things aren't there, you got to kind of take what the defense gives you. And he's doing, as long as he's not, he controlled the ball in this game, which was like made my brain feel better, because like when he's had certain games where he's been loosey goosey with the ball and not scoring. He can't do both. So I'm worried in the big picture sense, but it's a good worry to have because it means we're playing basketball still. And I just have to have some faith that a guy like this will figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, if we're winning and he's scoring under 15 points a game, then I guess that's not a bad thing.
That's right.
One other thing I wanted to mention or ask about was I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah, no, sorry, I forgot.
My brain is non-functional. It is 12:30 at night. We're just excited about the win. That's the way it is. Do you have any other thoughts on the series as a whole? Because I think this is your first time joining us, right?
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, I remembered what it was. This was actually the first game that I thought that the Mavs actually pushed the pace. And I understand, like, when you're playing against the Clippers, it's an older team. You're trying to push the pace on these old farts, but but and then obviously, OKC's much younger. But I thought every time they pushed the pace, they created amazing offensive opportunities. And I'm just wondering, like, why was this the first game that actually saw them pushing the pace?
Somebody told Luka to fucking move the ball. I promise. Like, there's an element of this where it's like, dude, just go.
Yeah.
Dort can't hit you if you're moving. Or I mean, I guess he can, but it's a lot harder for him too.
And then it's a foul.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
man, thanks so much. Hope you join us again.
Yeah, thanks. Take care.
Right. Glenn is coming up next. Glenn, how are you? Oh, there we are.
Kirk, can you hear me?
I can. How you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm good. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything intelligent tonight. I got to admit this up front. I got 3 points I got to make here. Number one, I claim credit for this win. I had a bottle of wine that was defective of some sort, shattered as I removed the cork, doused my Maverick shirt completely, consulted with my brother, who's an expert on this. He said, you got to continue to wear the Maverick shirt. The Maverick shirt is your lucky shirt. The Mavericks have won every game wearing this shirt. You have to wear it. I wore the Maverick shirt. The Mavericks win is I claim credit for this.
That is a commitment. So if there's like a 4-game stretch where I was wearing that ridiculous shirt, the He Is Risen shirt.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the same thing because the Mavericks kept winning. And then my wife was finally like, that thing stinks. Like,
you
get
can't
it out
change
of here.
shirts in the middle of a streak.
That's true.
You can change shirts if your team's down by 20.
Yes.
But if your team's winning, which they were by 10 at that point and stayed that way, you have to just commit to the shirt.
These are the rules.
Yeah. Number 2, Jason Kidd. I give credit to him because he does make brilliant adjustments from game to game. But it's like watching Homer Simpson during a game where he makes a commitment to something like, hey, let's try a lineup with 2 aggressive scorers, Hardaway, Timmy, and Hardy. And then he doesn't, okay, it didn't work. Let's just move on from this. And I was furious after game 4. I haven't talked to you since then. I was furious after game 4 of the Clippers, where Harden scored like 4 times in a row. They call a timeout. I tell my brother on the text, well, now they're going to take out the small ball lineup and go back to either Lively or Gafford. But no.
Yeah.
They stick with it. He commits to something and he's just going to stick with it over and over again.
In the playoffs, I do believe that. Like that, sometimes in the regular season, it doesn't feel like they have a game plan. I'm just going to be honest about that. I'm probably wrong, but when it comes to the playoff stuff, and Josh Bowe always points this out, that the games are much more well scouted. They commit to their game plan as a coaching staff, and sometimes the first one to blink loses, which I think you could sort of attest to the Thunder that they switched out the Giddey lineup, went with Isaiah Joe. It didn't work. I think it should have worked. Like, by all accounts, that should have worked, but they didn't hit enough shots. And the Mavericks now have them on their heels. Like, this is crazy.
I totally am okay with him trying a lineup of Hardy and Timmy, but it didn't work.
No.
So pull them and then
it didn't kill them. It didn't. No, it didn't. Honestly, it really didn't. The numbers don't. I felt like it killed them, but that may be my bias in the fact that I never want to see those 2 on the floor at the same time.
Timmy made a couple of good alley-oop dishes, so it kind of worked, but it didn't work. I mean, come on. The team would have had a bigger lead if they'd given up on that quicker. My last point is, who do we want to play, Denver versus Minnesota?
I don't want to play Minnesota.
Exactly. We do not have the personnel to match up with Minnesota.
Did you watch any of the preseason games in Dubai?
Yes. I went to, and also went to Summer League games here in Vegas.
Summer League was fun, but the Dubai games, I remember collectively, Mavs Moneyball staff, everything, they played the Wolves back-to-back and got annihilated both games. And I was like, I remember talking to staff and being like, did we completely misjudge this Mavericks offseason? Are we fucked? And the answer was like, no. The Wolves are just really good and a pretty bad matchup for the Mavericks. And
it's a bad matchup. Yeah.
I do think the Mavericks would fare better. I also think I would love to see Luka and Ant, but they're just so big.
Yes.
And that sort of negates some of the things that we have, So
we have this great lineup. I've talked to you on DM about this. This isn't the best team since 2011. This is the best team since 1989. We have the guys of Tarpley and Donaldson that we didn't have, where people come into the paint, we challenge them physically and body them out of there. And that's not going to happen against Minnesota. We can match up to one of the two guys, but we can't match up to both KAT and Gobert at the same time. It's not going to be good for us. So go Denver.
Which is a crazy thing to say because they have the world-dominating MVP who played perhaps the most scary game of basketball that I've seen from an individual since like Dirk beating the Thunder in that what was like the 12 of 15 performance where Dirk scored 48 points. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do.
That was nuts. It was nuts.
Listen, I'm not saying we're going to beat either of those two teams.
Right, but you'd rather. I think I'd rather watch the basketball with the Nuggets.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's all I got tonight. Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you so much for all you've done for the season, Kirk. It's been entertaining. I've been listening all year long.
Thanks, Glenn. Talk soon.
Yep, talk soon.
All right. Last but not least is Ryan. Ryan, thanks for waiting. What's going on tonight?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
You sound good.
Good. Yeah, I mean, it's great to see Luka just come out ready to play. It's amazing how good our offense is when he hits threes. It just makes everything flow.
Yeah.
I did see that there was only 23 free throws this game. And I think if game 6 is called the same way, we have a good chance because when there's low free throws, it means our defense is hounding and nothing's happening in the paint.
That's right. Sorry, somebody just sent me a tweet that showed all of Luka's playoff injuries, and it says right knee sprain, left knee soreness, back soreness, left Achilles soreness. And someone shared a photo of that with going for a run in your mid-30s, which is it completely threw me off. Sorry, I was just like
they
that.
Forgot about his enamel being out too from that tooth on the floor.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, just you can kind of see OKC's youth. Like Jalen Williams just doesn't have it. It's just he's getting locked up in the paint. He had some decent floaters and stuff, but other than that, it wasn't like I watch him a fair amount, and he scores like 20 points a game, and he's probably averaging 12.
Well, I'm looking for it, but there was a tweet earlier. Jackson Frank, the freelance NBA writer, said the whole thing with Oklahoma's drive and kick approach is to keep the defense in constant rotation. But Dallas just refuses to have its big man get in the rotation on these drives. Whoever is the big, meaning Lively or Gafford, just sort of hangs out near the rim, and it's really fucked up the Thunder's offense. I think that's a big element of this because Shai is effectively playing how national media criticize Luka's play.
Right, yeah.
Like he's doing great. It's just he's not enough. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, it just they're not hitting their threes, and they shoot almost 40% in the regular season, and now their assholes a little tightened during the playoffs.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But other than that, the only thing I have left is everyone was saying how SGA deserves the MVP over Luka and everyone else because of his defense, and tonight just.
We're going to talk about that. We're gonna make that a dialogue
because he gets steals, sure, but so does Luka. He was probably fifth in steals. It's the same thing. But other than that, and then only thing I have left is the salaries match perfectly. It's a pipe dream, but Bogdanovich from Atlanta for THJ and some picks, or maybe throw Green in it. And that would really make this offense.
I know that was something I wanted several years ago.
Yeah.
Because I really like that guy's game. He's Serbian. Yeah. Yeah. He's Serbian, and he's a gamer. He is a tough guy. I would love that, but that strikes me as I don't know because the Hawks got the number 1 overall pick in a draft where no one wants right. Even though God, did you see? What Alexander Sarr basically looks like Lively, but plays like Jonathan Isaac. Like he is terrifying looking. Give me that guy. But yeah, I'd be curious to see where Atlanta feels about themselves because they want to move Trey. Like there's a lot of interesting things to go on there.
They're in cap hell. Like they need some expiring salaries, and THJ would be that for them.
Sure, but I like that. That's a good theory. All right, man. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
All right. Talk soon.
Yep. All righty.
All right. Last but not least is Mr. Green joining us from, I believe, Perth, Australia.
How are you, Kirk?
I'm good. Your day got off to a better start this time.
That's me dog going ape shit on cue.
Hey, he liked the game.
Yeah, look, good game, mate. Really good game, and man, such a good game from Derek Jones Jr. Gee, he's what a menace. Imagine if Derek Jones Jr. was the one guarding Luka. What a fucking night that would be.
Luka will just back his skinny butt down, and that's what Alexander hasn't been able to do.
Exactly. No, he's just so long, man, and he's just relentless. And that's the one thing that, once we got some length, I just didn't think we'd be this relentless. The guys look, I couldn't even watch your show the other night, mate, after the loss. I felt like we snatched defeat from the jaws of victory in game 4. I was fucking so disappointed. But they turned it around. As you and Josh said, there was no hangover from game 4. That was the most pleasing thing to see. Can't believe Luka came out and did not complain once. That was incredible.
Yeah.
And the talk about Sarr. Sarr actually played for my local team, the Perth Wildcats.
What do you think of him?
Not as good as everyone's hyping him up to be. That's for sure.
He's young. Like, young bigs are so challenging because there's so much there. And like Lively is a real fun example because he's just developed about as quickly as you could possibly imagine. And I love the concept of mobile bigs that like playing defense. So that's why I like him.
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me a lot of Mobley
with
a worse handle. And that's saying because Mobley's a bit like THJ when he takes more than 2 dribbles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think he'll do well, but this is one of those drafts where everyone's clutching at straws. No one has any idea. And for some reason, they've landed on him. And I'll tell you probably why. Because he's in my backyard. He's so fucking far away. It's, this guy who no one knows about who's miles away, he might be really, really good. And I think, unfortunately, man, it's a lot of hype for the young kid. And if he goes number 1 to Atlanta, man, that, we could be talking bust with him. I'll be honest.
But you don't got to do much. Like, their team, when you jump from 10, like, and just so ESPN put this thought in my mind, the bastards. If the Mavericks had jumped from 10 to 1 last year, we'd be talking about a different championship, and I love Lively. That's just a different world. But you jump from 10 to 1, it opens up some possibilities because they're not that terrible. The Hawks they're not good, but they're not. So it's like one more guy that doesn't have to do much. Like, that's why the Lively thing has been so amazing for Dallas, because they put him in a position to where he has to do these set things and can develop at his own pace. And we've watched him grow as a result of that. He's not relied upon to be good.
Mate, he's been really bad these playoffs, except for on the defensive end until today. Today, he looked like...
You mean the missing... Yeah, but the defense is what you want him for, because they are just... So the fact that he came alive, and he's been such a plus while he's on the floor defensively, because you just go into the lane and they shut him, and he shuts him down. So I'll take it.
Yeah, they're shitting themselves, Kirk. You're 100% right, mate. They go anywhere near that paint and they see him.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen Shea pass out so much. Like, he's not normally that player. I watched a fair bit of OKC. I really rate them as a team, but I didn't rate them for this season. But I do rate them for the assets they've got and the players that they've got, on the roster at the moment. But you never see him fake, and then pass out. It's normally fake, jump shot. But he's not willing to do it with Lively there. And I feel that him and Luka today were the difference. I mean, Derek Jones was incredible. I'm sure that's his playoff career high today, 19 points, considering I think the 17 on game 4 was his career high. So he played incredible, but man, it's looking good. honestly thought I'd be coming on this show and talking about who we're facing next. But I just hope they don't let Dallas down, the local fans, because they really need to close this out.
I agree, and I'm being very selfish.
I'm not 100% confident that they will, because they seem to let their guard a little bit down. The thing that I really like about going into this game 6, though, is an extra day's rest for all of them. So I think they get an extra night's sleep in their own bed, and they can get a bit of a practice and a walkthrough in, and talk about how, like, let's just lock in. And if Luka makes 2 of his first 4 jump shots, mate, put it in the book. We'll win it. But yeah,
I love it, man.
Today. Love Derek Jones Jr. today. Really, now I never have for the whole season up until now stressing about what his decision will be for next year. I sort of had a gut feeling that he's bonded so well with our guys that he might accept a pay cut to stay. Not with how he's playing now.
No,
he's playing out of his fucking mind.
And he's been in the league
worth an MLE. Surely someone's going to pay him 12, 13 grand. I mean, he's Bruce Brown, isn't he?
Well, it's so interesting because he came into the league like as an undrafted. Like, I think he was really young. He's somehow been in the league 10 years already. If you believe it, he's like 27. He's been in the league forever, but he's always been kind of a minimum back into the bench contract guy. And these guys get one chance to make money. And so I never begrudge them that. And so it's the Mavericks might have to get real creative. But then, it was very clear if you read Tim Cato's article on The Athletic about Derek Jones Jr. that came out yesterday, his agent knows that what works with the Mavericks is a huge reason as to why he looks so good. It's not just him being good on its own. It's him finding a place that works, and that's important.
Well, Kid told him, he said, man, we'd love to have you here, but I'm not giving you anything. Everything has to be earned.
Well, there was nothing to give.
No, but that's what Kid said. There was no time for him. There was no role for him. Mm-hmm. Kid told him before the season started, mate, we want you on the roster, but I've got nothing to give you. But you've got everything to earn. And you remember when he fell out of the rotation at about game 55-ish? And I didn't know he was going to get back in. But, man, imagine this team in this playoff run without him. Yeah. He just seems to be everything we've wanted Josh to be, that point of attack defender, able to slide his feet, take a small bump to the chest, but then come straight back into it. And to be honest with you, man, he's probably the best defender type to go against Shea.
I think so.
But I like Shea's new nickname. It's not SGA, it's FTA.
Free throw attempted. Love it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
But
hey, man.
Thanks for staying so late, mate. And,
absolutely.
Look forward to talking to you after another win. I'm too depressed to talk to you after a loss.
So I'm glad you brought this up. I addressed this in the last show. I probably won't be able to have one of these after game 6, no matter what, because my wife started playing.
Jinx us.
I know, but my wife started planning a birthday party for me like 3 months ago, and she put it on this day on Saturday, and it's like I'm gonna have a bunch of people around, and it's like if I try to go disappear for 2 hours, do a podcast, I think she'll kill me. So, we'll see. All right, man. Thanks so much for joining us.
Why don't you get some random to host it, Kirk? I mean, we're only here to hear our own gums flapping, mate. Not so
I know,
much.
but nobody wants to.
Rando on there.
Nobody wants to do it. Like I'm my own producer. Like I do all this stuff. Cool. If I don't do it, who will?
You're the only loose one out there that would do it, mate.
That's right.
We all thank you for it. Really appreciate it.
Talk soon, Mr. Green. Have a good night.
Cheers.
All right. Okay, guys, this has been Kirk Henderson of Pod Maverick, and this has been Mavs Party. Thank you so much for hanging out and listening. We will be back on Saturday with some form of Pod Maverick After Dark, but there will not be a post-game show or a secondary post-game show. Everybody be good. Have a great rest of your week, and we will talk soon. Go Mavs.